Good afternoon. Very good to see a packed room after a long time, speaking in a packed room here. So I'm Radha Dasari. I work at Web3 Foundation. I'm a technical educator, so education is my main objective in the ecosystem, but I wear multiple hats there. So to relate to me as a speaker, so I have a PhD in computer science with a focus in AI. I've been a faculty at University of Vermont for 3 years in computer science department. Then I've moved to like Web3 Foundation 3 years back. So let's get to the topic for today. So what ties like those three things together? So that's the key objective of my talk today. So I'd like to start with data. So because data doesn't lie, blockchain data doesn't lie. So we have about 50 parachains on Polkadot. These are the blockchains running in parallel. When consolidating, the activity on all of the parachains along with Polkadot, so we have about 7 million active accounts that have made transactions. There's 17 million transactions. And yeah, so the point being, like whenever you talk about like activity, you hear that Polkadot is sort of dead. So this slide sort of, I want to make sure that that misconception is gone. And yeah, so talking about the vision of Web3, right? So every single one of you here in some way relates to the actual promise of like Web3, which is you want to have this decentralization, avoid centralized like points of failure. You want things to be accessible as well as high quality. I mean, that has been the key point of discussion even in the panels earlier. So I'm going to tell the ground reality of how Polkadot is trying to keep these promises. So first of all, the product that Polkadot offers is Blockspace, a Blockspace that is abundant, secure, and flexible, right? So with the parallel sharding architecture that we've implemented, so Polkadot is offering a high quality block space for you to utilize. And you can already see that there are multiple projects that are building on Polkadot, not just parachains. So you have like wallets, you have like dApps, as well as like infrastructure out there. Now, the interesting thing here is that, yes, there is like a lot of DeFi based use cases, but Polkadot is exploring a lot of other blockchain use cases as well. So the previous panel ties into this talk like very seamlessly. So Polkadot, with its like design and the secure block space, is able to provide a transfer fee of less than a cent for stable coins. So we think this is going to be like a game changer, especially in the developing nations. You can't send like a dollar by paying like $10 as transfer fee, right? So Polkadot sort of ensures that this transfer fee is sort of stable. And we've also demonstrated that when there was this inscriptions craze, there's a huge volume on Polkadot chain, and the fees for transfer on Polkadot remained almost stable. So this is very much in contrast with like Ethereum and EVM based chains, where the transfer fee sort of spikes, and you as a developer or like a business doesn't know like what's going to happen in the next 1 year, right? So you can't make a business model with such a fee model. So Polkadot is creating this stable environment with its abundant block space to bring new business use cases into picture. Yeah, and then my words weren't empty earlier, so we are actually proving that blockchains can be used for high volume like use cases. Like we have like mythical games, so they are very famous for the NFL Rivals app in the US. It's one of the top apps downloaded for gaming. So they have moved from EVM Ethereum architecture a little bit backed by like Polkadot, and I'm going to explain a lot more details about why they made this switch. So you can see they launched fully last month, and then you can see plenty of activity and Polkadot supporting that activity seamlessly. And there's also the social media use case. We all know, we have like 6 billion people or more on this planet. Most of them have access to internet, and everybody has the social identity. There's a lot of business around, the data that we are producing, right? So it's only fair that those users have some, payback for the data they're contributing. And that sort of model is only possible if you bring like Web3 or like blockchain technology into picture, right? So if Google's and Facebook's are making billions in revenue, it's through that data. So it's time that they receive the data back, and Frequency is one of the parachains that is working on solving that problem. The founder of Frequency is also looking at acquiring like TikTok. We don't know if that deal is going to go through, but the idea is that bringing all of those users in, creating a social graph that could be used like across different apps. That's their idea. So they started with a social network called Mivi, and then they've made a migration for millions of users there. So we are having like use cases more than like DeFi present on Polkadot, and they're going to come to Limelight soon. And yeah, so how are we making this possible? So 3 years back, you would have heard the hype around like parachain auctions, all the crowd loans, all the hype surrounding it, like, having this 2 years of like lease for like parachains. So things have changed. Like we've heard, what's happening in the community. And then we've switched. We actually launched this Agile Coretime last week. So it's like a very new feature update to Polkadot. So the idea is that, okay, so you have to have access to blockchain 24/7. Polkadot gives that. And if you're like a small organization, you don't have to produce a block every 6 seconds. Maybe you have to consolidate your data into a ledger every 24 hours. So that is possible with this architecture as well. So the idea is to avoid ghost chains, like, running like empty blocks 24/7. We are solving that efficiency problem with this Agile Coretime. So if you want to produce a block, you produce it on demand. And we are going even further. So this feature is going to be released like later in the year. So we are implementing what, think of like a cloud service provider. So if there is a lot of demand, let's say there's a sporting event, a lot of people access that sporting app, and the cloud elastically scales to give that bandwidth. So we are applying the same to blockchain here with elastic scaling. So I'm using this example of minting like NFTs, right? So this could be like a one-time event where you need a lot of like capacity. So Polkadot is able to assign a lot more cores, a lot more validators to facilitate your parachain. You can think of parachain as rollup. So Polkadot has like 50 rollups. These rollups can elastically scale whenever they need the block space. And yeah, so from the beginning, Polkadot's narrative has always been connecting blockchains together. We started out with connecting parachains together first. All these rollups on Polkadot enjoy the privilege of securely communicating with each other. This is not the case in Ethereum. So all the L2's rollups are in isolation. Polkadot provides a design where they can communicate securely. And we already see a lot of activity between these parachains, and then we're also expanding it even further because like we don't want to be in this island. We want to, sort of talk to all of you, make business with all of you. So we have like a trustless bridge. So this is one of the unique designs out there. Most of the bridges are based on like multi-sigs or, some central points of failures. We have seen that with hacks. So trustless bridge is when one protocol understands what's happening on the other protocol. And all of this is embedded on the chain. So we have a trustless bridge with like Bitcoin and Ethereum in operation. We have one more project called as Hyperbridge. So they're bridging with a lot of like rollups in the Ethereum ecosystem as well. And yeah, so let's talk about what's happening on this slide. So how did we get here? Like how does like Polkadot get onto that t-shirt? So this is where one of the very key things about like Polkadot, I want to shine light on that, which is our governance. So Polkadot is one of the arguably the largest DAO out there. So every dot holder is able to participate in like the governance of Polkadot. So of all 1,164 referenda that were processed on Polkadot governance, one of that referenda is about putting Polkadot on Messi's t-shirt, like, you know, a partnership with like Inter Miami CF. Um, yeah, Polkadot has treasury, and then Polkadot also does its like upgrades, the features using like this governance. And we're getting better. Whether our spending is good or bad, we don't know yet. But based on the feedback, like we're making it much more like orderly. So check out opengov.watch. You're able to get a lot more insight into how our DAO works. And as you can see, from June, our treasury spending has reduced. So some common sense is kicking into the Polkadot community. So just don't label us like you know being like frivolous. Like we are a community. We are learning from whatever we did like previously, and then yeah. So this is the situation right now with treasury spending. And we have this new ledger app. On Ethereum or other chains, you do like blind signing of the contract. So that's the history with like Polkadot. So you're able to exactly see like what transaction you're signing, not only on Polkadot, but on all of its like parachains. So check out the new Ledger app, improving the accessibility. And also tying back to the previous panel, so we have Polkadot Pay app in the works to be released. So this is primarily targeted to the US audience. Yeah, the idea is that giving this like one mobile app solution to do a lot of like Polkadot utility. Check it out when it gets released later this year. And yeah, so if you have any questions, I and my team will be at the Polkadot booth. Happy to bring a lot of people into the ecosystem. For some reason, if we pissed off previously, people have changed in Polkadot ecosystem. Happy to restart the conversations. Thank you very much.